Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Hosted Bar. As always, I'm Erin Ogden. And today, because it's May the 4th, and May the 4th be with you, I have a little bit of a Yoda-inspired drink. It was called The Last Word, and it has chartreuse in it, so you had that nice greeny tinge. So because I'm a nerd, I had to go with it. How about you, Dawn? Dawn Maloney, of course, is joining us again. What do you have?
Yeah, well, man, I should come over to your place. I actually have a cranberry with a black raz seltzer water because my son and I were figuring out after school snack. And so I thought, let's make a fun drink for both of us. So there is no alcohol in this one
I love it.
today. But yeah, it's kind of yummy and different.
I will not tell you just how much alcohol is in mine. Let's just say I have enough for all of you.
Right.
So we are joined today by our guest, Brandon Rounds. And Brandon, you're the Director of Partnership and Events at the Fitchburg Chamber. But people aren't here to listen to me talk. That's next time. They already got you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves and what exciting things you might be drinking today?
Well, I am not drinking. I mean, I'm drinking, but I'm drinking water with orange Mio because I love orange anything. I have to drive back home today, so I did not want to drink before I venture the hour and a half south. So
Literally have 3 shots of alcohol in mine. So like I said, I have enough for all of y'all.
yeah, so you have one for each of us.
We're good.
I love it.
Love it.
Yeah, so like you said, my name is Brandon Rounds, and I'm the Director of Partnerships and Events for the Fitchburg Chamber of Commerce. I've been here for just over 4 years. I previously worked in hospitality since I had graduated college and loved every minute of it, but I was on the supplier side. So now I'm on the planner side where I get to actually plan events in different venues. I also handle the membership for our organization, welcoming new members to the Fitchburg Chamber, and just having a robust, great, fun community here in Fitchburg that is ever growing and just becoming bigger and better every day. So that is what I do.
And one of the things that will come out more through this conversation is you're involved in another big, fun, robust, and growing community outside of work. You are a performer.
I am. So to touch on that, I also go by the persona of Bianca Lynn Breeze. I am Miss Gay Wisconsin USFA 2023. I won the competition back in October against 15 other competitors throughout the state of Wisconsin. I was representing the capital city here of Madison in the Madison area and came out on top with the crown. So with winning that, I get to go to nationals at the end of May, the end of this month.
Yeah, that's coming up fast, Brandon.
It is. So I get to represent the state of Wisconsin in Dallas, Texas at the end of May. So I've been working full time and basically doing drag full time to help fund my way to nationals at the end of May to represent. And I'm very excited. All my pieces are coming together quite perfectly. And I should be there to go get out on top. So we'll see what happens at the end of May.
Congratulations. That's very exciting. And I always think it's funny when there's things like drag shows and stuff in Texas, given their very polarized view of the world sometimes.
Yeah, it's been, people ask me a lot about it. I've gone to Dallas, Texas since 2015 to go support our Miss Gay Wisconsin, whoever was representing that year. So I've either been a dresser or a backup dancer or just a supporter there to help them. And we're in a pretty good area in Dallas, a nice, good neighborhood. So we feel pretty safe being there. But yeah, it's really exciting and I'm excited to go.
Ooh, I want to know tell me more about it. Like is it kind of like, the other kind of Miss USA or all that kind of stuff? Like is there a talent that you have? I want to
yeah, and people ask all the time about it, so I'm happy to share. So in the world of like drag pageantry, it's very similar to just normal pageantry that you see. However, we do have different categories sometimes. So we have to do personal interview. So we'll do an interview with a panel of judges. I choose to do mine as Brandon because I should have started out with this. My pronouns are he, him, his. So I live my life as a man. And then when I do drag, my pronouns are she, her, hers. So I like to interview as a man just because I like to have the transformation from Brandon to Bianca. And where whoever I'm representing, I'll be representing that title in drag and out of drag. So I want people to know who I am both ways. As I'll be representing in those wherever I'm at. So we do interview, and then the next one of the other days we'll do evening gowns. So I have a beautiful custom evening gown I just picked up on Monday from Chicago. And it looks stunning, and I can't wait to wear it. And it cost me a lot of money. So, and then we do talent as well. But talent is, because it is a drag competition, I don't know how many people have been to drag shows, but they're a fun, exciting, just happy time. So if you've never been to a drag show, you have to go to one, and especially one that I produce. But for talent, it's usually a lip sync number of some sort. Just a lot of times it's just a little bit more elevated. So I'm excited to be, I'll kind of give you a hint. I have 4 dancers that I hired from Milwaukee that will be traveling with me. And I will just say that I will be Princess Peach.
Ooh,
I don't know if my competitors are going to be watching this or listening to this, so I have to be very secret.
You got to keep things a little bit closer to the chest here.
Yes. Yes.
So one thing that I want to kind of highlight is a little bit of, I think that there's confusion a lot of what drag is and what it isn't. And you were saying like there's a transformation, and it's not that you are a trans person, it's not that you're always in drag, and there is a kind of a, like I said, a transformation. So could you talk a little bit more about kind of what drag is and what it isn't?
Yeah. I think that a lot of times people get confused as far as what drag really is. And that's why I definitely started off with talking about transformation. Drag is, at this point, in 2023, drag is more of an umbrella term. So anybody can do drag. Drag is an umbrella term. Drag is anything. It can be whatever you want it to be. So drag can be a female, do it transforming to male, so drag king. There are many non-binary performers. There are also cis men. So I would be a cis man because I was born male, and I transform and do drag, but I still live my life as a man. So there's that. There's also femme drag or AFAB drag, which is assigned female at birth, where females do drag. So like anybody can do drag. It doesn't matter who you are.
It's all encompassing.
Yes, it really is. It's an art form. So I work with many different entertainers, including a lot of the trans community too. So there are entertainers who are transgender who, way back, drag was sort of, because transgender wasn't a thing, well, it was, but it was hard to be able to identify as that, back then. So a lot of times,
just the weird lady that lived with your friend, right? Like we all, right? And so it wasn't as easy to be identified publicly, I think is true.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. That's bad. Yeah, identify publicly. So a lot of times what would happen is entertainers would do drag, and it would allow them kind of that stepping stone and to start to feel more comfortable with themselves. So you will see a lot of times that there are a lot of trans drag performers because that's what made them feel comfortable with living in their own skin. So that there is a confusion between what drag really is. So drag is not always a transgender person or someone who wants to live their life as a female. It's an art form. I say it's like you go to your favorite musical on Broadway and you see someone, on stage, they're being a character, and drag is a character. So it's just me dressing up as a woman doing a character.
With way better shoes than many.
Yeah, right. I mean, think back to like the Shakespearean times. There were never females in plays. It was always men. And now there's an issue with men dressing in drag. And it's like the history, you guys. That's all that men did back then. And now it's a problem. So I don't. Maybe because they're just jealous.
Sorry, what did you say?
They're totally jealous. I am.
Yeah.
Because those gowns are amazing.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing it?
So I've been doing drag for almost 12 years.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is why I giggled too, because I'm like, I knew you from Hotel Red Days.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw you online. I think it was during COVID time, and I was like, wait, that's Brandon. Oh,
yeah.
But it wasn't, it was Bianca.
Yes,
yeah.
Bianca.
Yeah.
And this was so cool. I'm like, I know him.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, I used to back then, I used to try to keep both of my lives very separate, just because I didn't want to affect the work that I was in.
mm-hmm.
And then, times have changed quite a bit. Drag started to become way more mainstream than it was. I used to perform for like 5 or 10 of my friends at Five Nightclub when I first started, and now I'm performing for 250 people, sold out crowds, or live on Queen Street, which is the FPC live event that they do. It's called Live on King Street, but I've partnered with them and we do a show every year. And now last year we had 5,000 people there on King Street, or on MLK Street. And it's crazy the way that things have changed. So I've sort of, people have asked me I feel like I'm more of an advocate now. I advocate on behalf of the LGBTQ community and on drag community. So I can't really keep my life separate. And that's okay with me because I want people to know who I am in drag and out of drag.
So that leads to at least my first question is, we often hear about like bringing your whole self to work, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you show up and be as Bianca every third Wednesday, right? Or maybe it does for you, but it certainly doesn't mean that you're every, that it's always out there. Or as I put it, like when I was working in a firm, I didn't run around in my hot yoga gear because that's what I was into, right? So how do you kind of address that divide? And what was, you said, you used to be one way and you've kind of changed a little. So talk a little bit about that journey and how you approach that.
Yeah, so kind of what sort of made the switch for me was I did an interview after the pandemic. I did an interview with the Fitchburg Star, and they asked if they could put both pictures in the Fitchburg Star, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, sure, let's do it. And honestly, out of any articles that I've ever written or that I've been a part of, the Fitchburg Star's article was probably my favorite, because it didn't just ask, where did you get your drag name? How long have you been doing drag? Like it was more informative, and it was more about educating the community on drag and what drag is. And I think that was why I was okay with it, because I wanted people to understand why I do what I do. And then they printed it, and it was the front page article, and it said Fitchburg Chambers, Brandon Rounds does drag. And it was a very positive article. And working for a chamber of commerce, a lot of times, it's a little, because it's all business owners. So you want to make sure that you're making money for your businesses. And working for the Chamber of Commerce here in Fitchburg I love it so much because the members are all so supportive. Our CEO is so supportive. She, definitely is like, if they don't like it, then we don't want them a part of us, so she's just the community here is very supportive. And I had several members that came up to me and said, oh my gosh, I read your article in the Fitchburg Star. It was so amazing. Even members who I didn't think would even say anything. And it just makes me realize that the job that I have and what I do in this community is, very effective. And I'm teaching people. And that is what my sole purpose is now in drag, is to teach. I want to teach. I want people to understand there's so much hate and there's over 200 bills that are being passed discriminating against the LGBTQ community. And my goal is to educate our community and try to not let that stuff get into Wisconsin and make it a better place.
Yeah. So it sounds like part of it is that it allowed you to kind of bring your whole self, was that you weren't denying any part. Yeah. You were being able to be authentic. You were able to see the whole self, but that doesn't mean that essentially what I'm hearing is it allows you to do that. And it didn't mean that you had to be Bianca at work, but it also didn't mean that you could only be Brandon outside of work.
Right. And the cool thing is that I actually partner with a few of our members and I do drag events at their businesses.
Now all of a sudden I want to have this. Our work is remote and now I still need to figure out how to make this happen.
Yeah.
Dawn, you're a business of one, but I still feel like this could be an important part.
Yeah. Well, I just love, Brandon, that you're making waves and change for others. Like, that was really courageous and brave. And I'm proud of you that you did that, because just think how many other people were watching and learning from that, and so even some people that may be listening, like, what would you have for what suggestions would you have for some of those people that maybe are on the fence of like, can I show up as my true self or not, or maybe have different situations like this where it's like, do I do this? Do I not? I'm guessing you maybe checked even with the CEO before you did it, or did you not even?
Yeah, no, the CEO just already knew that I did drag, and has already been supportive. I guess my thing is that it's so important to be your true self because we only have one life to live. And if you're working for somebody who doesn't appreciate who you are as a person, then it's time that you find something else, because there's another organization out there that's going to actually appreciate you for who you are. And I think that's so important. I was always taught that the moment that you have to say, I have to go to work today, is the moment that you need to change your career, because you should say, I get to go to work today, not I have to go to work today. So, and I wake up every morning pushing the snooze button a couple times and saying, where's my coffee? And my cats won't bring it to me. But then I say, okay, I get to go to work today. I never say I have to. I enjoy what I do. I love what I do. And I love that I have the flexibility to be able to do something else that means so much to me. And that I have an employer that appreciates the things that I do outside of work, because in the end, the good things that I'm doing outside of work here helps my job, because it just shows that, we are doing good things outside of the chamber, and in return makes it a better place for everybody.
Yeah, I would say, and with you even on this journey to go there in May, what are things that even everyone should be thinking about in our community to support you on this? Because you're the first one in Wisconsin, right, to go to nationals? Did I hear that right? Or no? Not the
I'm
first
the
one?
32nd.
32nd. Okay, sorry. Why was I thinking first? Anyways, you're You're first in my eyes.
Okay, cool.
But anyways, so how can like those support you more to even get you more successful down there? Because I know you even said you're hiring 4 dancers to go. I know it
Yeah.
costs money, but how are there other ways even too, besides even money, to help you be successful at that?
Well, to be honest, I have a very great support system and I'm very business savvy. So I've reached out to many different organizations to help sponsor me to go down there. So
Okay.
the best thing that I can say for people to help support, um, I'm pretty good, but definitely visit biancalimbreeze.com so that you can check out my website and see what events are coming up.
Yeah.
But honestly, the biggest thing to do is just to continue to support local drag artists. It doesn't matter if it's me or if it's somebody else. Just supporting those local shows by attending, being there, sharing it on your social media. Hey, I'm going to this. Who wants to go with me? Or what, things like that are definitely supportive not only to me, but the community as a whole. And especially in these times right now, the support for those kinds of shows are very necessary. And it shows that we are an accepting community and that we don't tolerate hate. And I think that's what's most important.
So with it, I want to pull out one thing you said, and then we can tie it back. But having that great support network, and having that great support network, both at work, you're saying your CEOs supported, your coworkers support, and outside of work. And if you're not finding that support, then that's not the thing for you. And so I'd love to hear a little bit more about with that. It's creating a support network outside of work. It can be difficult for some, but it's often easier than how do you finding that supportive work, finding that place that this work is, this job is for me, can be difficult, right? Because whenever you're interviewing for a job, you just want the job. Right. But what I'm hearing you kind of say is it's important to understand more than just the paycheck. And so is there anything that when you were looking around and trying to figure out, is this a place that I can be all of me, that were you very forward? Did you do research? Like how some of those things that others might be helpful trying to figure out what brand. I always say every business is crazy. You just define your brand of crazy. Like how do you find your brand of crazy, unlike Dawn and I, that we just created our own?
Yeah, so what I did when I first moved to Madison, I moved to Madison in 2011, and I didn't know anybody when I moved here. I started to make some connections through friends, and that's how how I ended up here and where I'm at now are all through friends and connections that I've made. What I did is I met with a friend that a friend suggested, and I wanted to get involved in the LGBTQ professional community. And there's an organization called Open, Our Professional Engagement Network, where I eventually became the president of for a couple years, and I remained on the board. I'm no longer on the board, but I'm still a member, just because it's gotten crazy with drag, and I just haven't found enough time in my day to do that at this moment. But I made connections through Open. Through that, I joined the Madison Gay Hockey Association, which is the second largest gay hockey association in the world, aside from Canada.
Canada in hockey.
Yeah, makes sense, right? And through that, I started to build my network and meeting new friends. And that is how I landed my second job. And through my second job, I remained there for 6 years, which was Hotel Red. And I was a member of the Fitchburg Chamber of Commerce at the time, and grew to know everybody who worked here. And then they poached me to come and work here. And luckily, I I knew that it was a safe space to work through everything.
And this is
What
something that
kinda led
Dawn
you
and I talked about. Sorry, Dawn, if you have a question, go for it. Because this,
I would say I love hearing that journey of like even your work, but like to even being in all those different kind of organizations, what led you even to drag? Tell
I'm
me more
sorry, what
about
was the question?
what even led you to drag to be a drag queen. Like what was that kind of a path to get to there? Because you were in different organizations and everything. So tell me, when was that pivotal moment where you're like, I'm going to do this?
Um, I I joined in 2012. I was with some friends and we had we're having some cocktails, and when I was in college, I had done a show just once,
Okay.
and um, I just did it for fun. And I said, I'll never do this again. And then when I moved to Madison, I was going through those pictures with some college friends, and a drag queen was like, you should try drag. And I was
Yeah.
like, no, it's not really my thing. And then she said, you really should try it again. So then I was like, you know what? This is a year of taking risks. So I was like, I met with her the next day. We went shopping for makeup, and the rest is history.
I love it.
Well, I love it.
And here I am now. Sorry, I got super distracted. There was somebody in our office.
No, totally fine. Erin, what were you going to ask?
Yeah, I was just it kind of feeds into this, is that people have a lot of questions, and they sometimes are awkward for you, almost always awkward for them.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, can I ask? Should I ask? What does, and while you can't speak for like everyone everywhere on the receiving end, but like, how do you approach people when you just need to know more? Or what do you appreciate when people have questions about drag or whatever it is that when they come to you in wanting to know more?
Yeah. So I know that it can be, well, I don't suffer from the same things that some other performers suffer from, like including anxieties. I'm sure I have some anxieties, but my anxieties aren't as strong as some other people's anxieties. Um, sorry, phone. That's what you get for working for a chamber of commerce. So the thing that I love is doing things like this, because a lot of times people don't have the courage or the outgoing personality to be able to do something like this. So that's why I love to do things like this, because I think it helps our community, because I can speak sometimes on behalf of some of those other entertainers. Me personally, I'm a very outgoing person. I will answer any question that anybody has about drag, and I mean anything. So but then again, for some people, they drag makes them hide. So drag is sort of a mask that they can put on to help mask who they are. Um, but for some entertainers, a really good friend of mine, typically he's a very introverted person, but when he puts on drag, he's very outgoing. So that's kind of his escape to be able to be an outgoing person, because besides like us and his friends, we're the only ones that know who he is. But he can be an outgoing person when he's in drag, because once he takes the makeup off and the wigs, nobody knows who he is. Does that help answer the question?
I think so, because I think what I'm hearing you say is, if you have questions, the first question you should ask is, can I ask you more questions?
Yeah,
Give them
absolutely.
the option to say, I'm glad you have I'm glad you're curious, but maybe not here, or maybe not now, or let me introduce you to Brandon and he'll answer all the questions.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a time and place as far as that goes. Like, I always it's always important to ask somebody their pronouns. Never feel like you can't ask somebody their pronouns. However, if you're in a round group and you wouldn't want to go up to someone in like a round group and be like, I'm sorry, what are your pronouns? Like simply, when when you're taking a break, be like, oh my gosh, my name is Brandon. My pronouns are he, him. I just thought that your topic was very interesting. And then maybe that person will then say, oh, I'm Jackie. My pronouns are she, her, or they, them, or whatever. So I think it's just, there is a time and place to do it. So just be respectful of people's space, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's helpful because I even know for myself too, where it's like, I don't want to offend anybody, but you're curious, you want to ask questions to show that you care and want to support, and I think that's been too just a learning thing. I think just things have changed over time, things have evolved, which is good.
Yeah, also, I mean,
Trying to
it's also
stop-
important to, sorry, it's also important to keep in mind, it's okay to use they, them pronouns for everybody because I know it, sometimes people are like, oh, it's so hard that it's they, them is plural. It's not because you're like, oh my gosh, they were so funny yesterday. Oh my gosh, they're a riot. I cannot wait to go with them to the ball or whatever it is. So we use it in our everyday life, and it's okay to say they them pronouns too, if you're not sure.
Yeah, that's helpful.
But I've also found that very few people are irritated that you care enough to ask.
Exactly.
And those that do get annoyed by it usually is a pretty good sign that I'm done talking to them anyway.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
It's just showing that I care. I want to see you, and I want to talk to you in the way that makes sense, right? I want to hear more. So can you believe it? 30 minutes gone like that.
It's crazy.
So Dawn, do you have any last questions, or Brandon,
Oh my
any
gosh.
last parting thoughts that if there's one thing you want people to know?
Yeah, well, I would say I could keep picking your brain all day. I was too flustered because I had my dog and then my child, So anyways, I really thank you, Brandon, for coming on and to be such an advocate for others and to just be brave and to talk about the things and to make it more knowledge for everybody. So I appreciate you taking the time to do this with us because I know it would help me to show up as a better person. And I know our listeners also. So if there's things that, I don't know, if there's other things that you think we should know, even for parting, Brandon, that would be helpful. Like, I just appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much for letting me do this. I really do appreciate it. And again, like I don't speak on behalf for everybody, but just me personally, these have been my thoughts today. And I am an open book and I'm always happy to answer questions. I'm a very busy person, but I always try to find time to get to everybody's questions and things like that. But yeah, in the end, I mean, my biggest thing for shows that I do and events that I'm doing, I do probably around 20 events a month.
Wow, that is a full-time job.
Yeah, it basically is. But in the end, it's not a job to me because I love what I do and my events. In that moment, the one thing that I want people to always remember is that this is a moment to spread kindness and love and happiness and just have a really good time in what otherwise might be a bad day for you, or in the world that day, maybe some bad things are happening. But in that moment, in that 2 or 3 hours that you're with me, I want to make sure that you're leaving with a smile on your face and just spread kindness around because there's so much hatred and we live one life, and don't let that stuff bother you. Just continue doing what you're doing and surround yourself with positive people.
I can't think of a better way to end. Thank you
Right?
so
And
much,
I can't wait to hear
Brandon.
about May, the end of May.
Yes, we'll have to come back.
Yes.
Perfect.